just a mystery, and that's how I like to be. I found my purpose, what I want to do, and why I want to do. You're staying in five-star hotels, but you're not getting sleep on those beds. We got a legal threat from a huge conglomerate, had to shut down our venture overnight. I've personally delivered all my goods, sweating like a pig. People bet on people. So I don't believe in valuations. I don't believe in creating pitch decks.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Breaking Uneven podcast. We love to talk shop, uncover the beauty of failures, and play a few games. Today, we're speaking to Saiyam Adani, the co founder of A2 Organics. An out and out management and finance savant, Saiyam has trained at Eureka Forbes, audited at Deloitte, and done financial analysis at the Analyst before jumping into entrepreneurship with the Bombay Natural Company, the Tree Box, and finally A2 Organics. So, Saiyam, is that a good representation of your journey so far?
Yeah, like as in I could not have described myself so well. So thank you for it. Yeah, like that.
Cool. So let's uncover a little more.
Perfect. So Twitter is known for its 280 character limit on every tweet, which sometimes makes it a little difficult to convey your thoughts. It takes about 20 seconds to speak 280 characters. So we want to transfer this challenge to you to explain to us A2 organics in 20 seconds. But we won't make it easy. We also want you to use one emoji and one hashtag in your tweet. Any questions?
No, not really. I think I can do in less than 280 words.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me know once you're ready, and I'm gonna start the stopwatch.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
So A2 Organics is nothing, but we are bringing back ancient wisdom to modern times. The emoji I'll use here is a big bull and farmlands and a hashtag back to roots.
Well, yes, you did do it under
Yeah,
20 seconds, under 15
yeah,
actually. So
yeah.
amazing.
Because see what ideally this is more about a philosophy rather than a brand. We are working on a philosophy. We are working to uncover what ancient wisdom in India looked like, and I would not talk about any other country apart from India here.
Interesting. I mean, I think it was like so succinctly put that it does seem like you all know exactly what you all are working towards,
Yeah,
and I mean, yeah, let's start uncovering that. But
sure,
so we have a bunch of stuff we want to unfold about your
of course.
journey.
Yeah,
But let's start with what I gauged as a 3-year gap on your LinkedIn. So between the
yeah,
analyst and Bombay Natural
yeah.
Company. So what's the
So the
story
thing
there?
is, there's no story. It's just that as a person, I'm very low key. I don't keep updating everything about my life, either on social media or it's the first time I'm doing a podcast. Also, I'm coming on a public platform, so it's just a mystery, and that's how I like to be. And maybe we'll uncover today, as to what the journey has been throughout. Like and it's been a decade of wonderful experiences, and I would love to share it along with you guys.
Interestingly enough, so Oppenheimer's been all the news, and I've been seeing a lot of
Yeah,
interviews with Killian Murphy,
yeah,
who maintains the same like mysteriousness around him because he has no social
yeah,
media or anything.
yeah.
So I'm now thinking of you in the same light as Killian Murphy, which is interesting.
What did you do in that 3-year gap?
So 3 year is what. So I lived in Turkey for 3 years. So Istanbul is where I lived.
Oh, I love
So was it
Istanbul.
more of a gap year kind of vibe, or
No, not a gap year. It's just that I needed to get out of my comfort zone. So if I tell you my story, like how, and it's not only my personal story. It's about how a person goes through a phase, right? Like as in, so you may not believe it, and many people find it very difficult. But I was very low on self-esteem, very low on confidence, the most underrated student in my school. Like as in very difficult to speak to people, an introvert. And now I've explored a side where people tell me, shut up, like I think you need to talk less. So that's what I've uncovered in this last 10 years. How did it happen? It happened through a series of activities and events. I had to break a barrier. I had to get up my comfort zone. I had to change my profession to get to where I am. And I'm still exploring. I'm not saying that I've figured it out, but I found my purpose, what I want to do and why I want to do.
So, introspectively speaking,
Hmm.
there must be something that's in the back of your mind telling you, okay, now's the time, you're becoming too comfortable, jump out of your comfort zone.
No, not really.
Okay.
Now is the time to keep reinventing yourself. That is what I keep on thinking. Like, I'm not saying just get out of your comfort zone again and again, but reinvent yourself, because at every stage of your life, you need to identify what you're becoming.
So then, was it your time in Istanbul that helped you gauge that
Yeah,
perspective?
yeah. It's not the time in Istanbul. It's how I started my journey. Like, as in, and if I can talk about it, like, as in a very
Yeah,
brief
please,
manner.
yeah,
Like,
tell us how you
so,
started.
like, graduated out of HR college, South Bombay. Like, materialism is something that I got very attracted to. Like, as your first job, you're an investment banker. Like, and you've just seen Suits. Like, and so you want to dress up like Harvey, go to office. And those were my ambitions. Like, as in, I wanted to do something big in life, earn a lot of money. But what I realized is 1.5 year working at Deloitte, tremendous exposure. You're staying in five-star hotels, but you're not getting sleep on those beds. It's hard. Life is not that easy. There's a lot of pressure, and you're working on your desk, which an introvert like me would find it very comfortable. Like, just you're with my laptop doing things and like crunching numbers. So then I thought that let me start my own company, and I thought I was good at investment banking. So the analyst came into picture, where we were trying to scrutinize a company based on its operational, financial, and stock market performance. So if I were to get into the nitty-gritties of it, what we were doing was, just imagine, like, I think this happens in a lot of listed companies, and don't hold me accountable for it, where, there is a little bit of manipulation, and we were trying to rig it out. For example, as per clause 49 of SEBI's regulation, this is what I remember from 8 years ago, so I can quote that very easily. Like, an independent director of the company is not supposed to provide any service to the company. So you go to the P&L accounts of the company, you'll find out that legal services, the corpus is around 7 crores. And back in time, if I would, and this sounds old, but you won't get information on Zoba Corp. You have to go to the registrar of companies back at Marine Lines, ask the guy who are the directors of these companies. They'll give you the documents. You'll have to scrutinize the documents. So we found out that the directors of the same company are directors in this company. So it's money getting transferred from one pocket to another pocket, which is very bad for the investors. It's good for the company, for the bad for the investors. Like, if I assume Anuj is the managing director of a big conglomerate, Anuj is doing a video or giving a media release that, I'm setting aside 1,000 crores for expansion. 1,000 crores for business expansion would mean that the return would be around 25 to 30% in business, at least. Like that. But what happens is, when it comes down to manipulation, this funds are invested in mutual funds. Mutual funds would give a return of 4, 5, 10%, depending on who the fund manager is. And in order to inflate the stock prices, the mutual funds would reinvest the money in the stock of the same company. So that is not sustainable in the long run. We tried to do this. We got a legal threat from a huge conglomerate, had to shut down our venture overnight. I'm saying this out
Oh
publicly.
God.
Got very depressed, very demoralized. I was a 22-year-old, great ambitions in life, but I didn't know what to do next. So, and I was in the pro and investment banking, and I was not comfortable doing sales. You're meeting very commendable people, very respectful people. You are understanding everything through body language, because the acumen that you have at that age is very little. What you're trying to understand is a person, how he behaves, how he talks. How would a CEO of a Standard Chartered bank talk? How would he dress up? How would he walk? How would he place himself in a room? Would people be scared of him, or people would love him? So that is what I was trying to understand and figure it out. So this is what happened during the analyst. Was figuring out, was home for almost 6 months, like, just trying to figure out whether I could do a job, not do a job. Then out of nowhere, I went to my native. I happen to be a Gujarati. So I found that, and I used to love whatever food my nani used to make for me. It was all on ancient traditional side. And organic for us right now is a very heavy term to use, but by default, everything that was grown in India back in time was organic. There was no science behind it. And the way organic industry is shaping up, a lot of people, consumers, feel as if organic food is expensive, and we Indians are price sensitive. But that's not the case. The case, as in it's a supply chain that, or maybe the hype around it is so much that we try to make it an expensive proposition for a consumer. So I'll just explain you a little bit about what Indian wisdom about organic food is and what the US wisdom or the foreign wisdom about organic food is. So Janvi, you'll be able to relate to this very nicely. So when someone's living abroad, or as in if you talk about consumers in India also, because we are trying to follow all, as in Western ideologies in terms of food, in terms of nutrition, in terms of everything that we are doing, in terms of dressing up also. So what has happened now is, if I were to use the word organic or natural, someone like Jamanti would tell me that, the land has to be clean, the source of water has to be clean, that there has to be no pesticides and fertilizers used in the production of the crops, right? And that's when you call a product organic. And there has to be some USDA, like the process of making it has to be very stringent, and that's all, and that's how you get a USDA certification. It's as simple as that. Now, when I talk about Indian practices, Indian practices were spiritually driven. And again, I'm not talking about spirituality as a very heavy word out here, but these guys back in time would use cow dung, neem, as in gaumutra, buttermilk into making a mixture which they would call it as panchagavya. So panchagavya, why? And it's a fertilizer. It's nothing like it's a mixture of five elements. You get it into a fertilizer, and that's how you do farming. It was all hand driven. So now when you put panchagavya in a soil, it promotes growth of bacteria. And growth of bacteria is what enhances nutrition in the food. So if I were to give you some very vague examples, which are very simple to connect to. So what if I tell you that if you eat from a land that has a lot of snails, it is very good for your ears. We always quote that, we are what we eat. Now imagine a situation, there's heavy wind, but there is a plant, you're plucking a fruit out of it, and that plant has withstood that wind. It means that your resistance will grow. So these practices are not adopted in Western countries. Everything is mostly machine processed. So back in time, just go to the way our nannies or our dadis would make food. Like they would do hand churning of attas. They would do make buttermilk using a traditional Bologna method. Why this was done? And there is a very simple logic to it. The reason being is, if you put a sugarcane into a machine, the machine rotates normally at 2400 RPM or 3000 RPM. As simple as that. Now, when it's rotating at such high intensity, the heat generated is so much that all the nutrition in your food is lost. Even if the source of everything is good, like water is good, chemicals are not used, but there's no nutrition in your food. When you're using hand churned methods, even for making a sugarcane juice or hand churning of your attas, that will rotate only at 60 RPM maximum. It keeps the nutrition in the food intact. And that's why it was lighter. People didn't have digestive issues. People didn't have any bloating issues. People would not say that I have problem with lactose. It's again a big thing that is going on in the market right now, because we are not used to drinking pure milk that would come from Indian breed of cows. So that is what I discovered in my journey. I found it fascinating. I have no degree in agriculture. I had no understanding of how, whatever learning, I'm blessed. I met the right people, and this is what they've transferred to me. And I got very excited as to the ancient way, or the rustic way of living life. Why houses were made out of cow dung back in time. It's like, of course, there's a scientific reasoning as to, like as in
The
it
cooling.
becomes cooler. But what if I tell you that, like as in if you research that during Bhopal gas tragedy, people who lived in cow dung houses were not affected by radiation. It is anti-radioactive as a material. Why in temples do we use incense sticks or dhoop made out of cow dung back in time? Now it's all, like as in made out of chemicals and all. When you ignite cow dung, it releases oxygen. Diyas were done using cow dung. So it is very good for your health internally as well as externally. So that is what I've learned, and I'm still exploring it. So I've just got 1% or maybe 0.001% understanding of what organic food in India would be like. And this is what I want to do it as a philosophy where everyone's chasing westernization or modernization in whatever products they're consuming. Why not have an essence of India back? Because what has happened is these ancient practices, we just thought, like as in all of us would think, dadis and nannies must be doing it just for the heck of doing it. There's no documentation, there's no scientific evidence to it. But there was a rationale to it, which we've not documented it well. And maybe if we can revive it in a modernized way. Like I would not say, let's go and like apply ghee on our skin. But there were times back, like as in so just giving one more example of how, if I can do that. So like as in ghee, we are all using olive oil in our cooking, or maybe applying moisturizing creams made out of aloe vera, or Janvudi would know more about it. But what if I tell you ghee is the only ingredient in the world discovered till now that penetrates 7 layers of your skin?
I actually have experienced that, so I
Yeah,
agree in the sense that it's a funny story. So, like when I went to China, back in like ninth
mm,
grade, it was extremely cold, and like my
yeah,
body couldn't like it didn't adjust well to like
yeah,
the temperature difference from like Mumbai to China. So my lips doubled in
mm,
size because of like how chapped they were. And I came
mm,
back and like my mom was like, "What's going on?" and things like that. Like, cause it was really chapped. I applied ghee on my lips for maybe like a couple, like 4 or 5 days, and it was like all back to normal, but nothing like worked before that. Because while I was in China, I was like trying all like Vaseline
mm,
and like chapsticks and things like that. So it's interesting when you were like, oh, like let's like not necessarily put ghee on your face, and I was like, I kind
yeah.
of did that because of
Yeah,
like this thing. So yeah, no, it's
it's the
definitely
best moisturizing
interesting.
thing that you can ever apply. So ghee also has different application when you apply on your feet, when you apply it in your navel, when you apply it in your eyes, when you apply it in your
Yeah.
nose, when you apply it on your face. So this is what ancient India has left for us, and we are in the process of reviving it back.
Yeah, it's nice. Like you speak about, like I agree in the sense that everyone's going more towards westernization and things like that, and a lot of people are averse to following certain things because it comes from our grandparents, and like a lot of times it comes with a tinge of religion, and that's why people are like, oh, let's not, because like you're just saying it because of religion and not anything else. But like a lot of it does have scientific backing, a lot of it does make sense and is good for us, and it should. So yeah, like you're saying, there will be a switch sooner, hopefully, rather than later, where like people move more towards the ancient practices, again putting a spin on like modernization where it makes more sense in our daily lives, but like getting rooted back. But another thing is like I'm Gujarati as well, and I think we have the best food ever. So like going back to that. But right back to what you said. Sorry, I'm like bouncing from everything that you were saying. But you mentioned that like Deloitte was difficult, and the like working there, and like stay like traveling around, staying in these hotels, working. It also is stressful, but so is like entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not any easier. So what was like your reasoning to become a founder versus like doing it? Because stresses are both places, but what encouraged you to do something
No,
of
no,
your
I
own?
would not say stress because I was doing well at Deloitte. I was able to manage the stress well. But sometimes, again, like as I would not give it to my Gujarati genes, It's just that I didn't want to do something that is very conventional. And as an individual, this is very much individual to myself. I had to get out. I could not have been in my comfort zone. And that is what led me to a discovery. It was very difficult. I didn't know what to do, how to start, where to start, what processes to adopt. But eventually, everything falls in place. And one thing I've learned, if the intent is pure, I would just talk about the intent. God is kind enough, and I'm not talking from a spiritual point here. The universe aligns everything for you. So, and I would say I'm blessed that I've gone through this journey at a tender age, because a lot of people would want to get into the sustainable livelihood or organic farming at the later stages of life when they've achieved a lot in life. Either they've become a director of a company or a CEO of a company, and then they'll switch to organic, because even at that point of time they may be tired of what they're doing, right? So I take it as a privilege that I got to do it at 23, 24. It is tiring, it is taxing, but there is an adrenaline to it when you're working for yourself.
So when you came back from Turkey, and let's say you were starting out on this journey, what was the first step you took? How did you? Because you said you didn't have the knowledge, so you had to build it up.
Yeah.
Walk us through the
So
journey of that.
the first step I took is learning by doing it. See, I had very limited access to capital. Like even though coming from Gujarati family, I didn't take any resource or help from my parents because I wanted to build something from scratch. So what I did is went to villages nearby Gujarat, identified farmers who were authentic in nature, got a small warehouse, a friend's warehouse in Goregaon. So Motilal Nagar is where we operated out of. Didn't have money for branding, packaging, anything of that sort. And the only thing I could do was I had a corpus of 1 lakh rupees. I could procure some grains. But this eventually started off as a social enterprise. Like as a necessity is the mother of all invention, I believe in it. So because, like as in how the food industry will work is if I'm doing it on a bigger scale, and if I go to a packaging unit, there'll be like 5,000, 10,000 quantities are the MOQs. I didn't have that money, or that I didn't have any branding agency by my side. So what we did is we went to an NGO. We told them that like, and sustainability was not something top of my mind at that point of time because I was still exploring, right? What exactly can be done? But it happened by grace of God, or it happened automatically. We're like, any which way is for a stand-up pouch, I'm going to spend 10 to 15 rupees. Let me get a cloth bag stitched by underprivileged women through an NGO. It still costed me 7 rupees. Cheaper, affordable, like as in then a stand-up pouch. Now I didn't have money for branding. I had to figure out a way. So again, the ideology, it's the basic, right? Like as in where you come from. And when I talk about roots, I believe in that, whatever your agenda can become, it drives you. So now printing का पैसा नहीं था. I didn't have money for printing packages. I was like, let me create a stamp and I'll stamp it by myself. So that became my brand. So that is what we did, like as in the distribution point of view, like as in logistics was not sorted back in time. So my warehouse was in Goregaon, and groceries by nature, like I would get very happy if I would get on order of 1,000 rupees, 1,500 rupees, because rotation is very important, and freshness is also very important when it comes to grains, pulses, spices. I would travel in a local train, pick 80 kilos of grains, groceries, go to Cuff Parade on my two-wheeler, deliver it myself. And Bombay weather, like as in it's humid, you're sweating like a pig. But what I realized is people are very nice. They appreciate hard work. And you meet anyone in the journey. You don't decide who you meet. It's what comes to you, right? So I've personally delivered all my goods, sweating like a pig, not in a good condition. No one would ever allow me to enter in their houses. But I'll tell you, I'll give you a little example of what goodness to me looks like. So I still remember this incident where I was traveling from Goregaon to Bombay in a local train. I happened to, like knock the doors. My customer was at seventh floor Venus Building, Kapre. This I remember this till date. I go inside. All I had to do was give my bags, take the money, and go back. And I would have been happy. I had to collect 1,500 Indian rupees. That's it. So there was a young boy at the door. He's like, Mom, he doesn't look like a delivery boy. Mom is like, Beta, come inside, have a glass of water. I was like, okay, I'll come. And someone addressing you as beta, a stranger, it feels very warm and good. I went, I sat with the lady for almost half an hour, explained her what I do, why I do. She's like, why don't you come and meet my husband tomorrow? See, and then your brain starts working, right? Venus building, seventh floors, some big shot must be here. I didn't think about funding and valuation at that point of time. So I went the other day, dressed up nice, formally. Turned out the gentleman was the managing director of Bank of America. When I was at Deloitte, I never had an opportunity to work at Bank of America. And now he's ready to invest in my small venture. So this is where life takes you. And it's all because of, I would say, I would place hard work before anything else. Destiny does come into play, but only when you step out, only when you're able to get your hands dirty, only when you get uncomfortable. Because it's very easy for us, like coming from good colleges, we can't go in this condition to anyone's house, right? Like Janvi, if you agree to this, you would have not visited your friend's place also. But for business, I had to do that, and that helped me discover a lot of other things as well. And when you're meeting a person of that acumen and at that level, you learn something more, you understand, you imbibe those qualities.
So tell me this now. The day you were at, the day you went to Venus and everything, you got invited the next day to go and meet the MD of Bank
Hmm.
of America and all of that. But at that point, you were still trying this hacky way of just
Yeah,
getting it going, right? And figuring out
yeah,
your business as you
yeah.
went along. So what was it that you told that MD that convinced him that this is a business I want to invest in? Considering that, generally people go with pitch decks and fancy branding
Yeah,
and fancy logos and all of those things, which I'm assuming you didn't have at the time.
nothing I had.
So
I
what
still don't
what
have it.
what convinced
So
you?
if you ask me about my introduction, I will not be able to see one thing I can tell being a Gujarati, not being, like as in like people bet on people here. That's the only line I have for this. It's like if they see it in you, they'll bet on you. If they don't see it in you, they'll not bet on you. And what I felt that day is he was happy with the way I was, and I had no business in place. I just had a small trading idea in place. To make it into a business, it required some help, and I was very fortunate that people came along my way, helped me out. I also figured it out by myself as to what needs to be done. But people, Anuj, as we grow older and wiser, we'll understand, right? Who you can trust and who you cannot
Of
trust.
course,
It comes with experience,
100%.
and those people have those experience in hand to understand what they want to invest in.
Yeah.
And even if the money is not giving them 10x the returns or 7x the returns, if it's in safe hands, they want a treasurer rather than like someone who assures them multipliers effect. I think that all they will seek for is someone who can take care of the money and put it to the right use.
Yeah. I think, yeah, fair enough. I think, you
Would say from my personal case, it doesn't apply to everyone else. But yeah, this is what I have. So I don't believe in valuations. I don't believe in creating pitch decks. I don't, like it's. So if I want to meet you, I would want to meet you. Like as in, I would not want to meet your credentials.
To be honest, I agree with you because whenever I've created a pitch deck and
Yeah,
it's just a part of because I run a
yeah,
couple of different things, so I've created many pitch decks in the past, and
yeah,
when I start to put down the numbers, I'm like, it means nothing.
yeah.
I can project,
And it's all futuristic,
yeah, I
right?
can
You don't
project
know what's going to
500
happen
crores in
tomorrow.
5 years, or I can project 1,000 crores in 5 years. That's up to me what I put down on that sheet of paper. And in one of the, I'd spoken to a VC not for funding but to get their feedback on the pitch deck. I told the guy that I was speaking to that I can put whatever numbers I want on this. What do y'all see? And he also said that, to be honest, we don't actually care about these numbers. We ask for it, but what we're seeing through the entire process is how you're presenting what it is you're presenting. We don't care what's actually on the presentation. Of course, we will do a bit of research on the sector and all of that. So even they are of that mindset. And in fact, one of our previous guests we had, Ahana, she had applied to Y Combinator for funding with a particular idea, and they came back to her saying that, we like you, not this idea, so come back to us with another idea. So I think it is that same mindset in different ways. People are at the end of the day betting on people. So let's come to the company itself, right? A2 Organics, all about organic stuff. So one thing that kind of threw me off a bit when I was on the website is, so you've got ghee, and then you've got the wellness products, and then there's milk powder, right? So when you think of organic and everything, you think of very non-processed, extremely raw kind of products. So where did milk powder come from?
So milk powder is something that is very futuristic now also. So when the whole world is learning about what A2 milk is, what we've done is we've gone a little ahead and created a milk powder out of it. It's available in the US, but our rationale of doing this is very different. Like as in, we are yet to put out a brand story as to why we are doing this. So now there's a huge problem, like I addressed this before, that lactose intolerance has become a huge issue. But when you go back in time, people never had problem drinking milk. They would drink 4 liters of milk continuously or 1 liter of milk continuously. They would survive on milk. They would not have such issues. There's a reason to it. So when I talk about, again, milk, the process of using machines. So we can agree to this point that whatever milk that we are drinking today, I'm just talking from a very common and a basic standpoint. I'm not getting into the technicalities. That we can agree that we're all drinking pasteurized milk, right? So pasteurization, again, there's a lot of heat involved, loss of nutrition, and what you're drinking is not nutritive for your body at all. Now we go to the source of the milk, right? The source of the milk, we don't know which breed of cows it is coming from, whether these are, hybrid cows, whether these are Indian origin cows. So if I to take you again to ancient wisdom in brief, I would not elaborate a lot. So you'll see that milk in Switzerland, milk in UK is of good quality. So what Britishers took away from us was again this wisdom. So there are these ancient breed of cows. There are 29 such. We only know about Gir cows because they are very famous and they are trending. So they have a hump on them. You'll not see it on normal cows. So the hump stores solar energy. So whatever derivatives you have out of this is considered to be liquid coal. So there has been scientific research done where you can extract gold out of cow urine. And that's why Gaumudra has a lot of religious as well as spiritual significance. When you see dairy milk coming out of this breed of cows, it's not white in color, it's yellow in color. Because sun rays, now it gets converted. And in ancient India, they used to call it Suvarna. Suvarna means gold, as simple as that. Now, and raw milk has a different nutrition profile than pasteurized milk. So what we've done, again, not talking about the product much here, is the cows are milk. Within that, within 4 hours, that milk is converted into powder. Of course, it goes through a little bit of machinery process, but it keeps the nutrition in the food intact. There is a loss of 10%, but it's not 80% or 90%. We can afford that 10% loss. And why we are doing this is, again, like as in, so we've identified people living in Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad have access to branded A2 milk. There are people living in remote areas, Jammu and Kashmir. There are kids traveling abroad. they're not happy with the quality of milk that they're getting. So that's why we've created this product that if you want to travel, you take this milk powder along with you. It will reconstitute back into milk. You want to make chocolates at home, you want to make hot chocolate at home. This serves as a purpose. You can do anything with it. You're out of milk, because we live in a city like Bombay. It gets flooded a lot of times. There may be times when milk availability is less. You may not get it at home because of logistical. This serves as a packet which can be used in contingency, and it can be used as a regular product as well. So that's the entire rationale behind creating this product.
Yeah, interesting. And I think like overall in terms of like your journey, it was like okay, like you had that break and you went to Gujarat, and like that inspired you and things like that. Like across a lot of guests, we've realized that it's like these tiny moments that change like the entire trajectory of uh what their professional journey lands up being. So if it wasn't for A2 Organics, what would you be doing?
I would still, I think, be suited up like Harvey Specter, and like as in going from one bank to another bank, because that is what I dreamt of. Like as in since I was a kid, like as in when you grow up, when you're doing your graduation, I wanted to
Yeah.
be an investment banker. So,
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I think like it's not growing out of it, but like you need to have that
yeah,
realization whether
true.
that's something that you want to do long term or
Yeah,
not. And then like decide to swerve
yeah,
in whichever direction you want. Like a lot of people are definitely successful when they go through the traditional corporate ladder
hmm.
as well. But then some people want to do something
Yeah,
different. So it's just like that realization of like what you want to
yeah,
do. But from what we see and like what we've spoken so far, A2 is a B2C
yeah.
brand. Have you ever considered going B2B, whether it is like, for example, selling like the powder sachet
Hmm.
at like
Yeah.
hotels and restaurants? So has that ever crossed your mind, or do you want to stick to like the B2C
No,
model?
we are open to everything possible. Like as in, and we see an export market being the largest beneficiary of this milk powder. Indians living abroad. I would just talk about Indians living abroad. There is a huge mass of population. They need Indian products. And what we want to do is penetrate into such market at an institutional level and figure out a channel to serve them. So that is what we are exploring. We're figuring out how to export our product because again, milk, like a lot of regulatory processes, a lot of import regulations are there in place. So figuring out how do we sell this milk powder internationally as well as nationally, because it's not only about milk powder, it has a lot of application. A confectionery would want to buy this milk powder in wholesale and make chocolates out of it. Someone would want to do baking out of it. Someone would want to make n number of
Yeah.
products out of this, like, and so that is what we are
I mean, it's
figuring
milk.
about.
It's
We are
one of the
open,
most versatile products that
yeah,
exists. Um,
yeah.
but tell me this: internationally, is there? I'm not saying someone that's working exactly in A2 milk and organic milk, but is there a company that whose business model you like and kind of aspire to,
Internationally,
or domestically? I mean, just generally.
no, see, I would say I've learned a lot from my peers in the organic food industry. There are people, again, I would not say that the stories are similar. There are very young people getting into this industry. And what I see is they're doing it for the purpose. So I get very inspired by this. And there are classic examples, like as in there is this company called as Two Brothers Organic Farm. Like a very dear friend of mine, but uh, very happy with the approach that they've taken. Like as in we've started our journey together. But that gentleman didn't mind selling papaya on a cart under under a bridge, and he's become a good brand now. Like so, we really love their business model and the intent that they're doing it with. And there are a couple of brands like this, which like as in there is a brand called as Anvation. There's a brand again, Anvation is very commercial in nature. There is a brand called as Kid Organic. They're doing authentic products. And what I personally love is rather than a commercial mindset, because see, Anuj and Janvi, this is going to impact your health. And what our responsibility, we can't claim to be doctors or we can't claim to be nutritionists, but we are the ones feeding you good food. We rather be right with it. So scaling up is not the concern right now. Quality is the concern. We want to maintain that.
Fair enough.
Scale will happen, like as in if you love a product, you will tell it to 10 people. But if quality is not right, like we are not doing justice.
No, 100%, 100%. Fair. And that's something that we've had even restaurant owners on this podcast before, and even they say that at the end of the day, it's about the quality because you can scale and everything, but it'll all die if you don't deliver quality.
And like just in terms of the quality part of it, like you stand for that, right? Like you stand for being like the healthy organic this thing, so that is key to your business and like what you're selling, because if it conflicts with that, that like is not gonna sit well with anyone. And then yeah, like as you said, people aren't gonna speak. Like once it is about quality, the word will spread. And especially in India, a lot of brands grow based only on word of mouth because of how it works. But yeah, our next challenge is two lies, one
Hmm.
truth. So let's understand more about your journey with A2
Hmm.
Organics. Whether it's challenges or your biggest achievements, the idea is that you give us three
Hmm.
statements from which one explains an actual big moment at
Yeah.
A2, and the other two are false
Hmm.
statements. And then Anuj and I have to guess which one is the true
Yeah.
two.
Our first retail store, uh, sleeping in the farms, maybe losing a sense of what you're doing.
I'm
Okay.
gonna go with retail stores, the truth. But Chami, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with sleeping in the
Oh yeah,
farm
sorry,
is
sleeping
the
in the
truth.
farms is it?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, is that the truth?
Yeah, it is the truth.
Yeah.
Like as in like when you are seeing the stars and the moon, like as in nothing like like
I've actually done that. I've slept at
yeah,
a farm in. It was a
yeah,
little north of Ratnagiri,
yeah,
and in fact, so it was a homestay. It was a farm stay, homestay
yeah,
kind of vibe. We'd gone on family vacation, and so
yeah,
he brought out a telescope at night, and my God, the clarity! Like you could literally, we
yeah.
could see craters on the moon,
True.
and yeah, it's a very like it's a crazy experience.
It is magical. So I'll just highlight one experience which I had a visit to a farm too. Like as in intelligence again, very subjective, right? Like as in so when I was growing up, I would, like there are these parameters that we set aside for intelligence, right? Someone's scoring well, someone's doing well in their job, someone's very well spoken. This is what intelligence for most of us is, right? So I happened to go to a farm nearby Bombay. It's in Karjat only. And I'm talking from a food point of view, right? So we went for a wild vegetable hunting excursion, like as in things I'm sure Janvi, Anuj, and myself, like we've never eaten in a lifetime. So you go to the remote villages around, you extract these crops, and you try to make things out of it. Trust me, I've not eaten those kind of food even in Michelin star hotels. Like as in, because it would enhance all your taste buds. Like every bite you take, it would have something sour, something bitter, something like as in something astringent. It would just like as in shock your body as well, and it's very beneficial for our health. But what we explored during this, again, it was very magical. We had fireflies around us, throughout the night. So it's a fairy tale. It feels like as if you're watching a Disney movie. But what I realized is people who are grounded and have certain roots, like as in associated with them, they have far more intelligence levels. So we went for a small trail. I would not even call it trek. And we went with a couple of children, like 10-year and 12-year-olds. They were able to predict that it's going to rain the next moment. They could talk to the birds. So there is a lot of undiscovered intelligence, according to me, that like as in which we are not aware about. The sixth sense is so good. which cannot be taught, right? It's your gut feeling, it's your sixth sense, like, and then they're very high in degree in those aspects. So that is one thing I've learned from this tenure, that like, as in, again, like, as in, every individual is made very differently, and there's a lot to learn from everyone.
Yeah, no, 100%. So let's get into a little more of your individuality. We play this game that's called Red Flags, and the idea of this game is to kind of uncover what drives what you think of success as, and what you think of failure as. So I'm going to take you through three situations. Each situation has two things that are going great and one that's not so great. So three hypothetical situations with three statements in each, nine total statements. So here we
Okay.
go. Situation one: you've reached 100 crores in turnover last year. You've just raised
Hmm.
a great round of funding, but you
Hmm.
lose your initial investor.
Hmm.
Situation two is you have a network of 200 farmers that you work with.
Hmm.
Your milk powder sales have gone global, but your latest product has been giving people digestive issues.
Hmm.
And situation three is Amul has offered to acquire A2 Organics. Your personal
Hmm.
online presence has really gone up, but
Hmm.
you haven't taken a day of leave in all of last year. And which situation would you rather be in?
I think I would be good in the last situation, because if I'm happy doing what I'm doing, I don't need to take a leave. And I live in farms. It's good. Life is good there.
But so I'll give you one kind of um, so in the course of this call earlier you said you do try to keep a bit of mystery online and you're trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
So the second green flag there, which is your personal online presence has really gone up, is that
Hmm.
something that you want, or you're not too fussed?
So, like, I'm okay about it. Like, as in, I'm not saying that I want to be too, like, too socially relevant and all. But if it's helping
Hmm,
anyone in the cause, like, as in, why not be a medium for change?
fair
And
enough.
even I'll have to explore myself, right? Like, I'll have to break the boundaries. I'll have to get out of my comfort zone again and again, reinvent myself.
It's you talk so much about reinventing yourself, but I think you're so clear in your philosophy as well, because the games
Yeah.
we've played so far, like all three, Twitter Pitch, Two Lies, One Truth,
Hmm.
and Red Flags, I don't think we've had a guest so far on the podcast who's gotten through all three games as quickly as you have,
Yeah.
and which is why I think the next one is really not going to be a big deal for you because it's a rapid fire. So
Yeah.
you should be
Yeah. Yeah. I'm all game for it. See, Anna, and you should give me that advantage that I'm speaking on a public forum for the first time.
I think you don't need like that advantage. You're doing pretty well so far. But yeah, no, like Anand said, that I think like we haven't had a guest that's done it so quick, but also like yeah, I think you're very like clear on like um your identity in terms of what the brand stands for, what like you stand for and things like that. And I think that really reflects well in like this conversation. But yeah, moving on to the rapid
Sure.
fire.
All yours.
Starting on days of leave. How many days of leave have you taken in the last year?
Was zero.
So it's just farm life for you now.
Yeah, yeah, farm life, and like, as in, we like to lead a holistic. So when we are talking about a brand philosophy, it's all about holistic living, right? So we've cultivated our lives in such a way where when there is time for family, there is time for family. We like you'll not see me active on social media. You'll not get to know much about me. So when I'm at dinner with my parents, I am at dinner with my parents. I am not on my phone. When I'm working, I'm working. When I'm doing my prayers in the morning, I'm doing my prayers. I'm not thinking about work that time. So I've tried to imbibe that kind of a lifestyle, okay, in my day-to-day practice.
Interesting. Your proudest moment with A2 Organics.
My proudest moment with A2 Organic is, again, like the story I told you, right? Like when that young kid allowed me to enter in his house. That meant a lot to me.
What was your biggest sacrifice to make A2 Organics possible?
like I this is personal, but like my sister was hospitalized and I could not go and meet her.
Oh God, that must be
Yeah,
tough.
yeah, yeah.
Um, a product you wish A2 Organics made.
Product like I think we are doing justice to what we are doing. We want to get into chocolates. A2 chocolates is something that we want to get into, figuring it out how. But yeah, that's aspirational for us.
I'm sure Anuj and I can't wait. We both are like addicted to chocolate,
Yeah.
so we're gonna definitely test
Please
and
have a
try them
dark
out.
chocolate.
Um,
And ice creams made out of A2 milk.
Nice.
okay. Um, if you had to name A2 Organic something else, what would it be?
Uh, I think A2 is good because, or maybe something very Sanskrit in, like as in something like Arika or, like I'll have to do research on it, but some
Yeah.
Sanskrit.
Would you ever retire?
I, I don't think so. I'm very, my personality is not like that. But like, yeah, like I like to be at peace a lot of times, but I love momentum. So I'm a water sign. I need to be in flow.
Okay. What was one time you felt like you let A2 Organics down?
One time, the moment, see, I'll be very honest out here. Like, we got a lot of investor interest, got carried away a little. I think I didn't do justice at that point of time because that is when, like, as in you start seeing valuation and maybe, like, as in you're not doing justice to what you are doing. Too many people coming in also, who are not right for your brand may not be a good sign.
Yeah. Your biggest fear?
My biggest fear, again, like as in initially, like as in I would just advise this to my younger self. I would not talk to me right now. Is taking that first step. It's very hard, but once you do it, it's very simple.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people need to hear that.
Yeah.
Books or podcast?
I would listen, I would watch a movie. I am not into books at all. I would want to
Oh, okay.
read people. That's it.
An iPad or a notebook? Which one do you
Notebook.
prefer?
I'm very kind of like old school.
Good, okay. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
A morning person.
And this one's gonna be interesting given that you don't use any social media, but what would be your favorite social media platform?
Again, Instagram is one of my social best. See, giving you an irony out there, like again, like you may feel as if I am someone who stays away from social media, but I've been someone who's seen glamour very closely. Like I've acted in movies. A lot of my friends are fashion designers,
Oh,
so this is something that I've consciously chosen not to do because life seems good from distance, but it's not that easy.
nice. Okay. But yeah, that concludes the rapid fire segment and bringing us to the end of our conversation.
Hmm.
But before we let you go, we ask every guest to ask our next guest a question. So we first ask you their question, and then you can ask our
Sure,
next guest one.
sure.
So your question is,
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
I think I don't have an answer to this. Like, as in, it's what you think came first, right? Like, you know,
if you had to pick, what would you lean
I
towards?
think the egg came first.
And any rationale behind?
Any rational, like, as in, I don't want to apply a lot of logic to it and don't want to be intelligent doing this, but it's just I feel, like as in it's my gut feel that tells me that, like that is where since I've been talking about roots a lot, I think that was the source. The egg was the source. It was undiscovered. It was yet to break itself, and something broke and the
Okay.
chicken came.
I mean, just honestly, yeah, thank you for giving us your time.